This is Venezuela. That is, it used to be Venezuela until this man, Hugo Chavez, renamed it the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. This is Simón Bolivar, the great liberator, the man who cut the chains that bound Latin America to Spain. Hugo Chavez sees himself as the reincarnation of the great liberator, the man who will cut the chains of colonial power held by the United States. George Bush calls the president of Venezuela a demagogue, awash in oil money, a threat to his neighbors. To his people, he is a populist in the best sense of that word, directing Venezuela's vast oil wealth towards the most needy. So who is Hugo Chavez? Populist, reformer, Democrat, or demagogue? One thing all sides agree on is that Hugo Chavez is shaking things up south of the border. So I traveled to Caracas, Venezuela's capital, to find out a little more about this Latin leader and his Bolivarian vision for South America. When I arrived at his palace, called Miraflores, it was no surprise to find the rooms were festooned with portraits of the great liberator, and there was Bolivar's sword, resting proudly on its mantle.
Y en la hoja, el nombre de Bolívar, Simón Bolívar. Ajá, Simón Bolívar. Y bueno, arabescos, indígena, libertador de Colombia y del Perú.
Of Colombia and Peru.
Y aquí.
Once President Chavez finished telling sword stories, I got a chance to sit down with him and talk about his plans, his presidency, and the politics of oil.
Hasta hace 7 años atrás,
Up until 7 years ago,
Venezuela era una colonia petrolera norteamericana.
was a U.S. oil colony.
Todo nuestro petróleo se iba hacia el norte.
All of our oil was going up to north, to the
Y
north.
el gas que se iba a comenzar a explotar estaba previsto que se fuera todo a Estados
Should have
Unidos.
been used by the U.S. and not by us.
Ahora no, ahora nosotros estamos diversificando
We are diversifying.
nuestros acuerdos petroleros
Our
y
oil
estamos ayudando a los más pobres.
We're helping the poor.
What happens when the oil money runs out? What happens when the price of oil falls, as it always does? Will the Bolivarian revolution of Hugo Chavez simply collapse because there's no money to pay for the big free ride?
No, no colapsará.
I don't think it will
Incluso
collapse.
en el supuesto imposible
In this
de
impossible
que el petróleo
case
se terminara ahora
of
mismo.
oil will run out today.
No se acabará.
No, it will not end.
Esta revolución cada día
This
se
revolution
profundiza más, se consolida
goes
más.
deeper and deeper.
Y no,
It's more
no
consolidated.
depende exclusivamente del
It
precio del
does not
petróleo.
rely solely on oil.
Hay una voluntad nacional,
There is a national will.
hay una moral nacional,
There is a national
hay una
morale.
idea nacional.
There is a national
Hay un proyecto
idea
nacional.
and a national project.
De todos modos, nosotros estamos ahora mismo
However,
aplicando un proyecto
We are today
estratégico al que
implementing
hemos llamado siembra
a
petrolera.
strategic program called Oil Sowing Plan,
Es decir, aprovechando la riqueza petrolera
using oil wealth
para que Venezuela se convierta en un país
so
agrícola,
Venezuela could become an agricultural
en un
country,
país turístico,
a tourist
en un país
destination,
industrial,
an industrialized
en un
country
país con una economía diversificada.
with a diversified economy.
Y estamos invirtiendo,
And we're investing
perdón, ahora sí, miles de millones de dólares
billions of dollars
en
now,
obras de
yes,
infraestructura,
in infrastructure,
un gran plan ferroviario
a
nacional,
large railway
carreteras,
program,
autopistas,
roads,
nuevas ciudades,
highways,
nuevos
new
pueblos,
towns,
universidades nuevas,
new universities,
liceos nuevos,
new high
escuelas
schools,
nuevas,
new schools,
rescatando tierras,
recuperating
construyendo
land,
tractores ahora,
building
maquinarias
tractors,
agrícolas,
and
dando crédito a los
agricultural
campesinos,
machineries, giving
un
loans
gran
to
proyecto
the
energético
agricultural
de generación de
the
energía termoeléctrica,
power
hidroeléctrica,
generation using
un
thermal
conjunto
energy,
de proyectos
a
estructurantes,
number of structural
el
projects.
piso de una nueva economía.
So I decided to find out a bit more about this new economy that Chavez talks about. On paper, at least, it looks good. But is he doing what he promised? So I took a trip up to one of Caracas's poorer barrios to talk to some of the people. Poverty in Venezuela, well, at least according to the government statistics, is below 30% of the population for the first time in history. Infant mortality is down 38%. School attendance is up by 25%. And 60% of the public now has access to health care. La revolución! This is called the 23rd of January neighborhood. It's poor, it's gritty. In other words, it's Hugo Chavez's turf. Residents here are on the front lines of Chavez's Bolivarian revolution. So I decided to ask them what they had to say about it. Since Hugo Chavez became president, have there been any changes here?
A lot.
In what way?
Well, social changes. I think maybe it's possible that in this country, we are the only country on this planet that has so much, or have so many changes in the social aspect.
Arturo Caron learned to speak English in Trinidad and working a merchant ship out of New Orleans. He invited me upstairs for a cold one. Now, is that just because Hugo Chavez has a lot of oil money to spend, or do you think he actually has better policies than previous governments?
Well, the money has a lot to talk. The money has a lot to say in that. Because if he didn't have this money, he wouldn't be nowhere. He might even be president today. The money speaking for him. You want to build something? Take the money. You want to do this? Here's the money. The money is just rolling like that. The Venezuelan people never had this opportunity. The oil companies spending money in everything. All the projects in Venezuela is with the oil company. The money is not going away. It's staying here now. Free doctors, medical attention, operations, the best equipment in the hospitals and clinics. You're getting that now. You're getting good railway service, transport service. There's a subway in almost every city now. You have a subway system going. We're getting a train system also to connect the whole of Venezuela.
Chavez seems to have a lot of influence now in the rest of Latin America.
Well, yes, maybe some people think he's just using the money of the oil to get influence everywhere else, okay? If you're poor, the gentleman, if I am poor and somebody has a lot of money, I will do what this guy says to get some of that, to get help and everything. How the loyalty from Brazil, I don't know if Brazil is very loyal to us. If Argentina and Uruguay are not going to be loyal to us. If we have trouble here, I don't know if they're going to help us. You know, but the idea he has that we are just like Europe are united. You have all the nations in Europe are united now. South America can do the same thing also. Central America can do the same thing also. Maybe we are giving away too much money, because actually we do give away a lot of money, a lot of millions. But what is going to buy, I don't know what's going to buy. And sometimes we need it here.
Arturo isn't the only one who wonders whether or not Chavez is being a little too generous with Venezuela's oil money. In fact, that's the main charge of the opposition party, Primero Justicia. Their presidential candidate, Julio Borges, has been attacking Chavez relentlessly as a reckless spender of Venezuela's oil money. I hit the campaign trail with the candidate to hear his take on the issue. The Chavez government has given out billions of dollars of your oil money to other Latin American governments to help them. Is that a good idea?
No, we have denounced it, that this money has been transformed and should be transformed in jobs, security, social security in Venezuela. We have a slogan, very clear, Primero Venezuela, first Venezuela.
The economy's booming. You got a problem with that?
Yeah, we have a boom in economic terms, but we don't have jobs in Venezuela. We don't have an economic, healthy system in Venezuela. We don't have a boom for oil, but we don't have jobs, investment, production. We have mainly a poor country, but a rich government.
Yeah, a very rich government, and one whose president has been willing, even eager, to extend a helping hand to his neighbors that he is trying to enlist in his drive to integrate the economies of Latin America into one big Bolivarian trade bloc. Nowadays, when Chavez calls, the men in suits come a-running to hear what he has to say, like they did when he called this conference of the region's central bankers in Caracas. Say what you want about this guy, but he certainly knows how to win friends and influence people. Show them the money. Chavez's government purchased $2.5 billion in Argentine debt, allowing the president of Argentina, Nestor Kirchner, to tell the International Monetary Fund to kiss off.